Hi guys, Hani here. Today we are making either kimchi or sauerkraut, whatever you want to call it. It's a nice fermented cabbage snack thing. Well, I had some camera issues, so you didn't get to see me cutting up this beautiful red cabbage, but that's one of our ingredients. Probably the most important ingredient is salt. And in this particular recipe, I'm going to be putting in some organic radishes, some fresh ginger, and a few cloves of garlic here. So what I did here is I took this beautiful red cabbage and I quartered it, and for every quarter I would slice about a ½ inch to an inch long slices, so probably about like this. And then for every quarter I'd pour a couple, maybe a tablespoon or so of sea salt on. And I went through the whole thing like that. And I took out as many of the cores as I could, because those really they're not great to throw in there, and they're kind of annoying to work with. So I left some of the cores out. Prior to, I took the first couple layers off of the cabbage itself, and then with one of the next leaves, I took my jar that I'm going to be putting it in, and I traced a nice circle around with my knife. And this is going to provide a barrier between all that nice fermentation that's going on in the jar and the air. And that supposedly, I don't know because I'm kind of new at this, but supposedly that will help keep the funk down, if you will. Once it starts fermenting, you might get kind of a layer of mold that you have to take off every few days. And if I can avoid that kind of thing, I'm going to do whatever I can. Now, I mixed this up really well. So the sea salt and just the cabbage, that's all that's in here right now. I don't have a mortar and pestle, so I use this guy here, and I just grip this guy and I start crushing down and mushing down on everything in here. Now this is a process that's going to take me a little while, so I probably won't show you with me this entire time. Yeah, I'm going to start doing this. Now, why would I want to make a sauerkraut or a kimchi or some sort of fermented vegetable or food? Well, it's tasty, first of all. I was never really a big fan of sauerkraut, and then the last few years, for some reason, I'm like, I love that stuff. But yeah, I've never been a really big fan until recently. But not only is it tasty, and maybe your taste buds will change and you'll like it, but it is really good for you. It can ward off some pretty nasty bacteria. In the process of fermenting, it puts bacteria in the product that you're making. Now, our bodies need a certain balance of good bacteria and bad bacteria. Well, unfortunately, in these modern times, people aren't getting enough of that good bacteria. Back in the day, we needed to have different ways of preserving food, which this is one. And we don't really do a whole lot of that anymore. Instead of having natural homemade sauerkraut, we probably will buy the jar or the can at the store. And it may or may not be fermented the way that our bodies actually need. and we eat a lot of processed foods, and so eating something that's fermented is so good for you because it's kind of like already digested. This process of fermenting, it allows lactic acid. Now, why lactic acid is a good thing in your tummy and a really cruddy thing in your muscles, I don't know. But in the digestive system, something that has that lactic acid, your body doesn't have to work as hard to digest it. And that being said, with putting good bacteria into your system is really good for your digestive system. It's actually really helped some people out that have pancreas problems, poopy problems, all kinds of different intestinal type problems. Fermented foods have helped people. I think it was Germany did a study within the last like 30 years or so, where they had people eating fermented foods, and people that didn't, and they subjected them to different bugs, like colds, different super bugs. And the lactic acid, due to the fermented food in people's digestive systems, actually helped ward off some of these nasty bugs that these people in this experiment were exposed to. And I think it's really important that we get some more of that. So I'm going to mush this without the camera on because this is like one heck of a job. And then I will get back to you and show you actually how I make it. So, alright guys, so while I turned the camera off, I did a really good job of mushing this stuff down, this nice red cabbage. And with the salt and just the cabbage, no water, no anything else, there's a nice bit of liquid, which is important. Some recipes call for you to put some liquid in, put some water in. I will not. Well, I don't know. We'll see how this one recipe turns out. So, also while I was gone, or while the camera was off, I took some of the radishes and I cleaned them and cut them up. I'm going to save some of these radishes for some nice salad, and the greens are really good for salad too. And then I cleaned some of the garlic and the ginger as well. So what I'm going to do here, I'm going to start slicing up just nice smooth slices of garlic, and we're going to mix that into the bowl. And then we're going to do the same thing. Pardon my knife skills. Like I told you before, I'm really good at cutting my fingers when I'm cooking. So, and then I'm going to do the same thing with the radishes. I just want a nice, clean, long cut there. Put these in the bowl. And bear with me. Oh gosh, I almost cut my finger there. There's no good. I promise if I cut my fingers off, then I won't I won't post that to YouTube. My dog's behind me licking something. I don't know. probably his balls, but okay. Mix this up really good. And then the garlic I kind of want chopped. I want that pretty fine. I'll use my hands or later. Like I said, my knife skills, I need to brush up on that a little bit. Cosmo, stop licking your hands. Yes, my dogs have hands. They're part human. They just don't know it, or they do know it. Nobody else does. Okay. So now that is all done, I'm just going to use my hands to mix this up. So it will be pretty. I don't know how it'll taste. We'll do a little taste test with my other stuff soon. But what I am going to do now, once I get this all mixed together, I'm just going to add a little more salt. I will say, I don't know if you can see that part of the table, but with the red cabbage, it will stain. So bear that in mind if you follow this particular recipe. Ah, smells amazing. I love the smell of ginger. Okay, so I'm going to take my sanitized quart jar and we're going to put a little bit in. A little bit more. And then I'm going to use my makeshift pestle and kind of push that down there. So we want to get as much as we can in here. Supposedly you can fit a full head of cabbage in a quart jar. I have found that not to be true thus far. And I have to figure out what to do with the rest, because otherwise right now it's just a really salty salad. And I have no interest in that. At the very least, I'll feed it to my chickens tomorrow. But I'm just kind of going to push that down, and you'll see the liquid rising in it. Now you definitely don't want to overflow it, because with the natural liquids, like the salt will go into the membranes of the cabbage and the radish and the other veggies and stuff when you ferment. It will go in and take water out and put water in, and I don't know, there's this whole osmosis thing that happens. And when that does happen, sounds like my dogs are getting ready to go crazy. I might have to stop this just so that I can calm them down. But when that does happen, the cabbage itself will gain more moisture. And hey, calm down. What, you want to be in the video? Do you want to be? Those are our farm pups. That's Cosmo right there. But anyway, yes, with the moisture that's in here, and being that it's in a closed container, it will cause the cabbage and the other veggies in there to expand. And because of that, you want to make sure that you're not filling the jar all the way. So I think this will be really nice. But I don't think that I will fit this whole bowl in. The chickens are going to be really happy tomorrow, I think. And I will say, with all the salt that's in here, oh my goodness, I've really done some work to my fingers recently and cut them up pretty good. Boys, hey. So that's part of our entertainment for this evening is the dogs. Okay, so I'm going to fill this up, but I'm going to mush it down, and I might be able to put some more in there. Oh yeah, I'll be able to fit a little bit more in there. Otherwise, yes, the chickens will be very happy. Now you're gonna want to let this sit and ferment at room temperature. You don't want it actually below room temperature for the sauerkraut / kimchi. You don't want it to be too warm. That might cause some extra mold. But you don't want it to be too cold either. Otherwise, the fermentation process will take longer. Golly, these cuts. Alright, so I think this is probably about good. So I'm going to take this and set it on the top. I think somewhere around here. Let's see, the Cosmo. Hey. The date, I think, is the 8th. So I'm going to mark 4/8 on here. Now, every couple days or so, you're going to want to let it breathe. There's just kind of like with making beer or making wine, you need the air to escape, and in these nice mason jars, air is not always able to escape. So every day or so, you're gonna want to just open it up. Boys, hey. We really don't hold dog fights at our house, I promise. Cosmo, hey, Burt. You're going to want to let the air escape. So every day, open it up, close it back up, but keep it right around room temperature or lower than room temperature if you can. So yes, that is how we make our sauerkraut / kimchi. And so I have my best friend here, Cosmo, joining us right now. I had to separate him from his brother because they were going crazy. Bert's drinking water right now. Now I did forget to mention, we did that. Stay quiet. We did that cutout of the cabbage. And I forgot to show you that. So that is right here. And we're putting that inside the jar to form that barrier between the air and the fermentation process. And ideally that should help out with a film that might show up at the top when throughout the fermentation process. So also I wanted to show you something that I thought was kind of cool. We have, this was freshly made today, and this has been fermenting for a few weeks. So this is roughly the same recipe, and I think it's really cool, the color differences that are there. So I have this, which is a traditional type of sauerkraut that I made. That I made with just cabbage and salt and a little bit of pickling spice. You can kind of see the little dots in there of the pickling spice. I am a little apprehensive about this one because it smells so sweet, and generally speaking I like my foods to be either really sweet or really savory, and that stuff in between is kind of strange to me. It still smells pretty sweet, but we'll see how this goes. That's actually really good. It really reminds me of a very traditional kraut that you might get like on a hot dog, or on the side of potatoes and sausage or something like that. So I'm actually pretty satisfied with how that turned out. Yeah, I'm actually a lot more excited about this than what it was initially smelling it. I will say, I didn't mention this previously, but when you're making this and you're allowing it to ferment at right around room temperature, maybe a little cooler than room temperature, you want to kind of prime it, if you will, every day, and just open it up and let some of those gases that naturally occur from fermenting. Oh my gosh, I can smell that just from that quick little thing. But you want to let some of that pressure loose, and gosh, I'm excited about this one. So this is roughly the same recipe as the one that we just made. It smells kind of sweet, but really garlicky. Boys. That's good. This one has a little bite to it. It doesn't taste like the kind of kimchi that I've had at like Chinese buffets and stuff, which of course it's Korean food at a Chinese buffet. That's just kind of weird. Guys. But it has kind of a bite to it. I could definitely see me eating that as a side dish. Wow, that's really good. So now that I've opened these and the fermentation process is over, I am either going to have to can them or just throw them in the refrigerator. Now these will last longer than most things in the refrigerator because they've already fermented. So they've already kind of, not to say that they've spoiled. This is a nightly occurrence. Boys. Yeah. But they have fermented, so that's kind of preserved them. So they should be able to stay in the refrigerator for quite a few months before they go bad. So I think I'll probably end up doing that. Now, pretty soon here, I will be showing you a video of homemade ginger ale. That is another fermentation process that I'm kind of excited to try. I started my ginger bug, and that next video I'll tell you all about that. But very soon I will be making homemade ginger ale, and I'm so excited. So I hope you continue to watch, and I hope you check in and like and share and comment. Let me know if you have a different recipe that you think is really good. I would love to hear it. I'd love to try it out. So thanks for watching.